Good evening. Today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2026, and this is a meeting of the Milford School Committee. I'm going to start tonight with invitation to speak, and there's no one here for that. So we'll move on to announcements, correspondence, and distribution. Ryan? Nothing? No? All right. Well, that brings us to our discussion on e-bike policy, and we do have Chief DeCino here to share some of his information on e-bike policy as well. While he settles in, I know we had a discussion about this, I think, a month or so ago, and I know that e-bikes have been a kind of a hot topic around town. It's not just a school issue, it's not just related to our students. Obviously, this is a general safety concern, but we control what happens on property, hopefully. So the idea is to get some feedback, obviously, from the police department on what they're seeing and what they believe, and then hopefully give some guidance towards the policy subcommittee to draft something, if that's the direction we want to go in. So, Chief, thanks for coming.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I was in this room, a couple days ago we were here, weren't we, Greg?
Yes.
Or another, yeah, I heard it was a good meeting. I had to leave, but it was very nice. It was good to see everybody working together, so thank you for that. E-bikes, wow. I wish there was an easy, lid to put on this, but there's not. What we see is, beyond the individual accidents, we see roving bands of young adults on e-bikes. And I know that seems like a big statement, but when I tell you there's 20 or 30 of these young adults on e-bikes riding together, and when I say riding together, they're riding the wrong way up Central Street. They're riding the wrong way on Exchange Street. They're going against traffic on Main Street. Somebody's filming them. This has become a big problem. And to give it some context, we've had 125 accidents since January 2025. Out of that 125 accidents, 12 serious bodily injury. Now, I've been a paramedic 35 years. Some of you know that, some of you don't. I still work at UMass. I still work on the ambulance. In fact, I'll be there this Saturday. Horrific accidents. Horrific. Because what's happening is these e-bikes are getting modified to the point that they're motorcycles. And they're motorcycles that, primarily young people are riding with flip-flops, shorts, and a tank top. And they're making themselves a projectile missile. It's a big problem, and unfortunately there's not an easy solution. And what is the conundrum? Well, we try to stop and talk to these group of kids, but they don't stop. And we're not going to chase a group of kids, and that just makes it worse. We're not going to do that. Milford Police are not going to entertain that. I was talking before the meeting started the other day. I saw a group of 3 coming from Stacy. 2 young individuals were on an e-bike. Neither one of them had helmets. One was sitting backwards on the back, and the other bike had a juvenile riding by himself with no helmet down the sidewalk, flying, crossing intersections and not stopping. So I drive down past them. This is what I do. Get out of my car and I start walking back, right? So I don't turn the lights on and cause them to be spooked. I don't want that. So I walk up and I'm like, hey, and they stop. I'm like, what are we doing? I know. And as I'm talking to them, the SRO from one of the schools comes over. And I'm being vague for a reason. Stops and he's talking and he says, tell the chief what happened to you last week. Oh, come on. Tell the chief what happened to you last week. I got hit by a car on my e-bike. And I'm like, and we're doing this today? I know. And, the officer said, when your mother finds out, she's going to lose her mind. She's going to be pretty upset. So they did a great job following up with the parents, and we took the e-bike and that. So it's not an easy thing to try to reel it in. It's not like people speeding. We just had a very good outcome. We did the beginning of, I made this name up, School Safe Passage, where we're going to just continue doing this aggressive enforcement around the schools. We did over 40 infractions in a 4-hour period. That's huge. I hate to say that's easy, but it's easy for us. We're in marked police cars. These are vehicles. We conduct motor vehicle stops. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But with this e-bikes, it's very hard. And what I've seen is it's coming from the lower schools. These are not high school kids that are giving us the vast majority of the issues. They're not. The statistics that the SROs keep is they're coming from the other schools. Why? Because they're allowed to take the bikes to school. And I know we talk back and forth, and Dr. Consigli works great with us, and we this isn't the first time we've talked about this. We've been trying to hash this out since it started. My simple recommendation, and I know it's a hard one, is they shouldn't be allowed at the junior high level to take e-bikes onto school property. I know that's a big ask, and I defer to the group. My theory is it becomes an after-school ritual. That's what's going on. It's in school, they're talking, hey, jump on my e-bike, we'll go down to Dunkin' Donuts. Someone said free coffee. They go down to Dunkin' Donuts, they're going down on South Main Street sometimes. They're driving here, they're driving there. It's a social event. And I understand, they can go home, chief, and get the e-bike at home. And, well, kids thinking like that aren't gonna waste the time and do all that organizing. It's sporadic, and it's something that you could try on for size. And if you really think that it's making an impact and people aren't coming to school, then don't do it anymore. And I think the high school kids, I don't want to say this out loud because they're probably listening, they're very responsible compared to the younger group. I mean, we're all there, right? It's part of growing up and as you evolve. But the biggest recidivists, if you will, are this younger group. And I don't have a simple enforcement answer for you. I wish I did. Because trying to get them to stop causes them to go even faster, and just that's a recipe for disaster. Certainly we do the education, we put out the flyers, I want to commend the SROs and the school and the teachers, because we have parents calling us, hey, I want to buy this, is this bike okay? I said, well, email us over what the pamphlet says and we'll let you know. But these kids modify the bikes. They're 100 times smarter than I will ever be when it comes to this. That and my cell phone. If I want to know how to modify an e-bike and actually use my cell phone, I'll give it to somebody who goes to one of the junior highs, for sure. So that's where we're at. That's my simple suggestion. I know it's easier said than done, but we will continue to passively enforce this. We're not going to be chasing kids on these bikes. And anything that we can do in a collaboration with the school, but I'm telling you, we've really wrung that out. We've fought hard and constant reinforcement, and we'll continue to do all that. But there needs to be a step, because we've had a couple breaks in the nice weather, right, recently? Boom! Everywhere. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a few.
Sure.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Is there an update on? I know we talked about this a while ago, and there was a talk about the state coming out with some kind of registration system. Is there any update from the state on where they're at with that process?
No, we just asked about that. It was brought up at one of the chiefs' meetings, and all I get is that's,
Okay.
it's in the pipeline.
The next question, if we created a policy to restrict or ban the e-bikes, would that enable your officers to enforce after hours? Because obviously we're not going to enforce because we're not there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, not to cut you off. So and someone said, well, they're just gonna move the e-bikes down the street and they'll leave them there. Then after school they'll walk over there and get the. Well, in the interim, we'll confiscate the e-bike.
So
let's say you instituted this and they're like, oh, we're gonna park over here at Stacy, and we're gonna chain it to the fence because it's not on school property. The rule is school property. Okay, well, guess what? We're gonna come by, cut the chain, and take the bike, and their parents can come in and get it. I think it's certainly an aggressive step, but we will enforce it. If they're taking it to school, we'll come to the school and collect the bikes.
So if we did pass a policy, that would help you to enforce?
Yeah, correct.
So my next question, instead of a complete ban, what if we did a policy that says, hey, if you have an e-bike, you have to walk it on property? Would that help?
So I don't think the actual infractions per se are happening on property. Listen, they know, they respect, they love their teachers, and they get along great with the SROs, but the second they get off the school property, it's, get on the back! You know, and it's just, you know, my opinion, and from what I'm seeing, you know, this group of young people, I think it's just a bad mix, letting them take the bikes to school at that level. I think the high school kids, I think they're fine.
So you're saying that if we passed a ban,
Mm-hmm.
that even if the student was off property,
Mhm.
you would confiscate the e-bike if they were going to and from school?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me back up. Depends what they're doing, right? So, yeah. I mean, you know, it's few and far between that I see somebody helmet, you know, not going 40 miles an hour, you know, pedal assisted. I didn't even know this, but they have fake pedals now they put on. I didn't even know that. You can walk over and just snap it off. It's like glued on. It's not real. I was like, wow, that's pretty creative. It's pretty creative. I'm gonna give it to them. So we would continue to enforce what we have been doing, you know. But again, and what are the times that we see all this? Soon as school gets out. You know, I can look out the window of the police station, and here they come. This group on the opposite side of the street on Main Street, driving. And the other thing that we have to think about, right? I mean, I know this is the school committee, but we also have to be cognizant that, you know, you have some motorists on the street that, God forbid, are going to collide with one of these students. Well, they're going to live with that for the rest of their life. I mean, I have family in town in their 80s. You know, they're going to end up getting into an accident, critically injuring a child to no fault of their own. That's a big cross to carry. And those are things I think we need to take into consideration too. I just think that the catalyst is that after school with that junior high group, and the numbers show it.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
coming
of
in. Yeah,
course.
this is obviously something that we've been, you know,
Yeah.
started talking about last fall, you know, and now, as you would say, you know, springtime's coming and the e-bikes are coming out. You know, in here to just, you know, ask for your guidance on a
Yeah.
policy, and obviously your guidance is in a sense a complete ban, which I was hopeful we weren't going to be there, but it almost sounds like we may have to, right? Because we know that it has become a means for students to get to school, right? And we're trying not to hinder that by any means, but there's also that element of safety. Of the 125 accidents, do you know of any of those accidents, has it been any on school property? And I guess Stacy's a little bit, there's really school properties within there, but any of the adjacent streets, has there been an accident? And more specifically, has there been any accidents in the kind of the half hour before school and the half hour after school, where obviously that area is more densely packed with traffic?
Yeah, so out of the 125, you know, incidents, they are definitely the vast majority. I'd say 90% is in that hour after school.
Okay.
You know, after school is the big, and it's not even before school so much. Yes, we do have a couple before school, absolutely. But the ones after school are just that. We all get together, right? We're all gonna take off together on our e-bikes, and you know, it's innocent at face value, and you want to encourage that type of outdoor activity, but it's just being misused. These bikes are modified, and I just think that, you know, letting the high school, you know, or even an age cutoff. You know, like I said, I defer to the group. You know, if there was an age cutoff, you know, 15, 16, or something like that. You know, 15, 16, and if you go to Milford High School, you know, then you can use the e-bike. And I think that you're going to see a huge drop in these incidents. You know, like I said, it's, you know, the 125, again, you know, what's an accident, what's an incident? I mean, in all my years of policing and being a paramedic, I've shown up at accidents, and I've, you know, wanted to say to people, you call the ambulance for this? And then I've shown up at other accidents like, oh my God, like this is, we got to call the trauma team. But there was 12 serious injuries. 12 life-changing injuries. And I try to talk to the young adults and say, do you understand what's going to happen when you get a head strike? Do you understand your whole life is going to change? And I know that the trauma physicians that have to try to save these young adults, they're just shaking their head at how bad these injuries are. Because it's a motorcycle without a helmet, without regulation, without, you know?
Thank you on that. Yeah, I think the other part is just, if we do get to a policy of some sort, is how, the who and how it's enforced, right? And particularly the who. Because, you know, we do have the school resource officers, but they have many other things going on. We know our administration team has a ton of things going on, and I'm sure, you know, Josh can basically speak to that, but so we say you have to walk it along school grounds. Who's the enforcer of that? How do we do that? I think that's the
Sounds like the police.
right. But even on school grounds,
Sounds like the police are gonna come pick them up
even if
That's
they're
what we
riding
do.
If we
on,
banned them.
if we banned them.
if we
walked
ban
them on
them,
Friday.
but if we walked them. So again, any type short from or any type. If we say you're still allowed to use them as a mode to get to school, just when you get to school grounds, as we designate areas that you have to walk it from this point forward. If they ride it beyond the entrance to the school, right, into that zone, then who's the enforcing? Is it going to be the police, and are they
But
from
I
that
think
standpoint?
the point is they're coming to school,
right?
and then they leave school together in large groups. So the
Correct.
chief's suggesting, don't even bring them to school so they can't leave in large groups.
Right.
That's what the
That's
Right.
problem
Make
is.
an
Yeah.
extra step.
And I've realized that, and all along, my hope was not to ban them altogether, right? But obviously, that may be the direction we need to go. I was just hopeful that we wouldn't. So if we choose not to ban them altogether, is there some sort of concession with walking the bikes that we could work
Well-
with? But again, it's the enforcement of it. That's where I feel like
Well,
that's the problem. It's easy to say, no more e-bikes, and it's a very black and white type of rule. But is there some way of saying that you can bring them, a mode to get to school, you just can't have them on school grounds riding? So, which we already say too.
So, if I may,
Please.
what you're suggesting right now, we don't have a problem with that, right? Like, kids are bringing bikes onto the school grounds, and like Chief said, they're respectful with it, right? They're all of what Chief's talking about is happening after school, beyond the school
Yeah.
grounds, right? So I guess I'm not concerned about enforcing the walking of bikes on school grounds at all. I think are there kids that do ride their bikes on school grounds? Yeah, probably. But I haven't heard that it's an issue either. The issues that I hear about on school grounds definitely happen after school hours. And they're mainly issues like over here on the fields, where the kids are riding on the fields or on the turf field or on the track. It's not that I think that they're going to hurt the field or hurt the turf. I think that the problem with that is we have people that are trying to walk around the track, and they're weaving in and out of folks that are walking. So they're on areas that they're not supposed to be. But again, it's after school hours. Who would enforce that? We would look to the police, because we don't have staff after hours that are here. So yeah, I guess what I heard from the chief is if we banned them and kids bring them to school, they would come pick them up.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm in favor of that.
Right.
That's what I heard.
So thanks very much for this information. Like many people, I saw that video of Main Street with that child. Like, so as a parent, as a licensed driver, it's
Yeah.
horrific and terrifying. So I get that it's a problem. I just wanted to clarify: you're not talking at all about scooters. It's the e-bike. Is that right?
Yeah,
'Cause the
I'm
scooters.
talking
there's-
about,
okay.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm talking
No,
about.
I just wanted to
yeah.
make sure that
Yeah, I'm
as I
talking
was
about-
thinking about what we needed to do, it's related
yeah,
to the bikes.
I'm talking
Okay.
about the
Yeah.
e-bikes,
Okay.
and honestly, again, the groups that we encounter are not from the high school.
Understood.
It's just the facts.
Got it. Thank you.
Chief,
Yes.
thank you. So, state law has a helmet law, right?
Mhm.
And that goes up to age 13? What's the age on that?
So, well, with the e-bikes, 16.
60.
And you're supposed to, and we not to cut you off, sir, we do that.
Mhm.
I mean, we go into, we have helmets, and, we spend half our time with helmets and car seats. I spend more money of taking it out of, sometimes, officers pay themselves
Mhm.
to get someone a helmet. And, one of the kids the other day, I stopped, and I'm like, where's your helmet? And he's like, oh, I got my helmet. He pulls it out of his book bag. I'm like, well, your book bag's going to be safe.
Right.
And he just kind of laughed. I'm like, put that on your head.
Right.
So it's, again, the mopeds and that's really not an issue.
I'm just wondering if that's a way to have a policy where it's like you show up without a helmet, you're not allowed to bring it anymore. Bring the e-bike anymore.
Sure.
You cut it down that way. Like I don't know, I just went to the bike trail the other day, and it's like my son wants to go without his helmet for the
Yeah.
bike. Like no, we don't leave unless we have that helmet. I wonder if that's something we can think about because at 16, and you're saying it's younger kids.
Yeah.
They have to have it,
Yeah.
and they don't want it,
No.
So it's a little bit of a deterrent as well.
Oh,
Mm.
interesting.
Thanks for coming in, Chief.
Of course.
I have more of like a comment, kind of question type of thing. I see what you're saying. It's the after-school problem that it's the group effect that kids are getting. And you're trying to avoid that. I see your point. I also feel like we as a community, and this is not a you problem or our problem. This is a community problem. Should have a better infrastructure for those passive type of modes of transportation, whether it's actual bikes or e-bikes. Like I would love to have like a school safety zone, basically connecting Congress from Woodland all the way down to Stacy Memorial, that has a dedicated bike lane that's removed from the road, where we can have transportation and allow kids to actually go to school these ways. So if you have talks in the future when it comes to like design 10-year, 15-year plans,
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you could advocate for something like that too.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I think that goes back to, I think the e-bike is a great idea.
Yeah,
But again,
it's the control.
it's how you're gonna use it.
Yeah.
It's like the handgun argument. I'm not a gun guy. I know that's weird, saying to Chief Police. I'm not. The day I retire, I'm gonna have no gun, so I'm not a gun guy. But it's how you use these things. And they took. I have a family member who is handicapped, and who would benefit greatly from an e-bike. And go out and go on the bike trail and see things. Well, I know with 100% certainty, knowing this person, that this family member is going to use the e-bike with a helmet. They're going to ride responsible. They're going to see people and give them, their passage when they're riding, and they're not going to modify it to do 40 miles an hour. So anything can be taken that way. But I like those ideas. I mean, I was a cop in New York City, and the bike lanes were great.
Is this a policy subcommittee next stop?
So,
or just curious?
yeah, I was
Okay,
thinking
sorry.
that, it's just my thoughts. I tend to be pretty heavy-handed when it comes to safety stuff. I don't think my kids love that I do it to them either, but,
Fun place.
as you said, we've all been there, and now we know the bad decisions we made then. Probably
Okay.
for the policy group to discuss,
Yep.
but I personally would be entirely supportive of a complete ban for the rest of the year, just to see how that goes from Stacy down, to see if that has any impact. But I think the subcommittee should discuss that, because I'm sure there's a lot of moving pieces to that, so we would need a full thought process.
Thanks.
I did have a quick question. Has the town looked at doing any kind of enforcement or banning on town property?
So again, you ban an e-bike on town property, then you have somebody who struggles with emphysema, and they're
Fair.
using the bike on the bike trail.
Go
You know what I
Barbary.
mean? If the onus is on the person to use it, responsibly. It's kind of a conundrum being a liberal police chief, but I am. I don't like to do anything restrictive, but the traumatic injuries with this age group, case in point, I don't see the injuries with the older group.
What about Woodland and like Brookside? I mean, they're real young.
Again, there's not a lot of e-bikes there.
So really just Stacy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really just Stacy. And, you know, whenever I was talking to that young individual, and, you know, he said, tell the chief what happened to you last week. Oh, I got hit by a car and I went over the hood of the car. And I'm just like, you know, my stomach, you know, did a backflip.
In fairness, that happens to me when I run, so
Yeah.
I'm not going 40 miles per hour,
Right.
and I'm in a crosswalk.
Yeah. Yeah, no, listen, and
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, these incidents are driver's fault, you know?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I get it. I've been a paramedic a long time. I've seen it all.
How many times does this happen?
He runs a lot.
I've been hit by a car 3
Just saying.
times.
All right,
The
thank
near
you.
misses are
Yeah.
far too high to count.
Go ahead.
One more question. I think, Meg, you were starting to allude to it a little bit about e-bikes versus e-scooters.
I just wanted to confirm the universal we're talking
And
about, which
it
makes
does
sense.
sound
Yep.
obviously like it's e-bikes,
Mhm.
but in the policy, is it just general electric modes of transportation, or is it gonna be e-bikes? Again, that's not something to be decided here, but to consider e-scooters as something to envelop into this. I'm not sure how that will work through, but
I guess to close it, we did ask Craig to be in the hotspot, the administration to come up with a draft policy. The last time we talked about it, so I think maybe by the next policy meeting, coming up with something that you think that you would support, or at least some ideas.
He loves
Okay.
that idea, I can tell.
I mean, does it have to include banning bikes?
Whatever you,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, because
well,
just have something policy can digest.
Okay.
And if I may, I apologize. If this went into effect, like you said, for the rest of the year, we only have, what, another 2 months?
Yep.
For the rest of the year, there'd be this period of education.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be, you know, first of all, we're not that type of police department, but it wouldn't be, hey, there's a bunch of e-bikes over here, let's grab them and impound them. No. It's gonna be, hey, look, here you go, take this home, give this to your parents, let them know you can't have the e-bike anymore, okay? Because in 2 weeks, if you come with the e-bike, we're gonna take it to the police station, your parents are gonna have to come and get it, okay? You know, it's gonna be that type of thing. I just wanna be clear.
Sure.
Or do we want to go around to each member and ask what our opinion is for a ban or a policy, or just leave it as be? What would help you?
Because the next policy meeting is not for
It's
another
May.
month.
May.
I'm just kind of like, I'm throwing it out there, like, do you want to get a feel from the committee now? Or do you want to just propose something that you feel as superintendent would work?
Are you giving me till May 7th?
Yeah. Or maybe June 7th, I mean, whatever you, I mean, the school year's almost done. I mean, is this like, you want this done sooner than later?
No, I defer it to the group.
Okay.
I mean, and I, you know, and I applaud you all for taking this proactive approach and trying to mitigate this, because, you know.
We can come, I can
We've
propose
talked about it a few
something,
times at
I can
committee. so-
propose something for May 7th.
Okay.
we have another meeting on the 16th, right?
Hmm.
2 weeks.
Yeah, so May 7th, that's fine. All right.
Policy could be on the
He
16th
just-
if they wanted to.
Yeah.
May
At
7th.
least you guys caught that. Thank you.
All right.
I did say April 16th, right?
You did, but Craig suggested May 7th, and he asked for that. So,
All right. Well, we'll stop there.
So,
Thank you, Chief.
All right,
Appreciate your time.
thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I think we learned Brenda's not a hurdler. So.
Actually, I did steeplechase.
See you later.
We'll pass on that. All right.
so Chris, we have a policy on May 7th, so that,
I realize that. It's just whether or not you just bring it to the full committee at that point in time to vet it in a group of 7 as opposed to a small group. I'm just suggesting it. Obviously,
I don't know.
again, I think there's
sense
going to be
urgency right now.
I think there's going to be a lot of opinions from the group of 7. So I just don't know if the 3 can vet it and then it comes up to the other 4 here, and it may have to circle back. I don't know. So leave it to the chair to figure out,
Sure.
and the superintendent, whether or not. So.
All right. I think we're good there. We'll skip chairperson update. I have nothing to share there. Is there any update on the MSBA project?
Not since last meeting.
No, not since last meeting.
All right, then I guess we can move on to the Connections Program update with Mr. Jose Costa and Dr. Otland.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak to you about the Connections program. I send regrets on behalf of Amanda Masada, our program coordinator, who had a conflict tonight and couldn't join us, but I'd love to share with you a brief update, give Jose as the chair of our advisory board an opportunity to add to that, and I'd love to answer any questions that you may have about the program. I think most importantly, I want to lead off by affirming that the committee's choice to support the program with a stipend for the advisor has made the difference between the program continuing or not. It was, as I know Jose shared with you in the past, we were not able to sustain the program as a 100% volunteer organization any longer, and I want to express my gratitude to the committee for stepping in and making sure that we can continue this program. While I'm going to talk to you about numbers, I also want to just start off with a quick anecdote that I hope will help you understand the efficacy that we're seeing in the Connections program. So one of our graduating seniors this year, one of our co-valedictorians, Anna Julia Pereira, who you recognized a couple weeks ago here at school committee. I'm sorry I couldn't be here for that celebration. Anna will be attending Wesleyan College. She is a Connections student. She's going on a full Questbridge scholarship. This is the second consecutive year that we have a Connections student going to a NEASC school on a Questbridge scholarship. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's evidence of the fact that the theory behind the program is really strong. When we take academically promising students early on in their high school career who are showing great academic potential, but we also know that they're facing significant obstacles to post-secondary success. We pair them up with highly motivated volunteers in the community who are bringing a lot of expertise and connections to the table, and they can really help these kids get to places they would not have otherwise found themselves. And it's been really gratifying for me to see as an educator the enormous impact that our volunteers have had on these students. I would also just add before I get into the numbers that at the risk of sort of overusing superlatives, I've been involved in a lot of different volunteer organizations for all of my adult life, and I've never been part of an organization with such a committed, dedicated group of volunteers. We have 25 community members serving as mentors right now. These people are signing on for a 4-year tour. Right? They're committing to work with a student for 4 years. We have multiple mentors who are working with more than one student, and who are doing. They're taking on another student after they finished a 4-year tour. I'm filled with gratitude for our volunteers and how generous they've been with their time and talents for our students. But I also think it speaks to the fact that our volunteers are doing this because they know that they're having a big impact, right? They can see it with their eyes, the effect they're having on these young people, and I think that's why they're motivated to put in so much time and to come back and to take on a second student and to do another tour. So I couldn't be more pleased with the way the program's going. I'm so thankful to the committee for providing support to allow us to sustain the program. I'm so thankful to Amanda for her strong leadership, and we're moving in a great direction. You do have the numbers in the packet, and so I don't want to read the slides to you. There's a couple things that I want to highlight both for you and for members of the community that may be watching at home. We are seeing really strong mentor retention. We are not seeing folks walk away from the program. Every once in a while, we're having a mentor who, due to life circumstances, they're relocating, and at that stage, we're having someone come in to replace. But no one's volunteering and saying, "Hey, this isn't for me. I got to check out." Right? So we're retaining all of our mentors. They're super engaged. We have, in addition to the service they're providing to the kids, we have mentor meetings, and we have a program committee that has a high level of participation engagement. So our volunteers they're really all in, which is it's inspiring to see. We're serving 27 students presently, and we are going to graduate 11 this year. And our goal is to bring on 10 in the class of 2029, and we're on track to meet that goal. We invited 17 students in the class of 29. Those are our current 9th graders to apply. Demand does exceed our capacity to provide mentors right now, which on the one hand, I'd love not to turn a single student away. On the other hand, it's healthy to be in a place where we have more applicants than we have spots right now, and I think that speaks to the efficacy of the program, that the students themselves, even at a young age, when introduced to this, can say, "Yeah, that makes sense. I think I should apply for that." I think what we're really sort of focused on as we sort of wrap up this year and head to the next is, in addition, first of all, recruiting enough mentors to take on 10 kids a year is a significant lift. Most of that lift is being done by our mentors themselves, who are networking with friends, neighbors, and colleagues and trying to tap them, but also Amanda, our coordinator. But we're really working on having Amanda work with the mentors to try to bring a more consistent experience to the students. I don't think it would be quite right to say that we're developing a curriculum, right? This is not a accredited course at the high school, but we do want to have sort of a sequence of activities, and we want to have sort of a logical progression of experiences that we're trying to provide the students with. And so Amanda's working really closely with our program committee to try to get all of the mentors playing like a team. And we don't, the experience is highly individualized, right? It's this relationship between two people, and so you could have 10 different pairs out there, and it can be 10 really unique relationships. But we also want there to be some consistency, and we really want to leverage Amanda's expertise as a long-serving guidance counselor so that she can help to train our mentors to lead our students through a sequence of activities that's going to complement what our counselors are doing and help to really advance the work that we're doing to help them develop strong post-secondary plans. Let me sort of stop there. We turn it over to Jose as our advisory board chair to talk to you about the program from his perspective, and then happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I'll be quick on this. First of all, again, thank you. From 2 years ago, you received a lot of calls from me, and appreciate you listening. As Josh has pointed out, the benefits of the program, when you saw the numbers, you saw there was a year of decline. That was the year we were trying to figure out the direction we were going. And it's on a rise again. Again, the more mentors we can get, the more students we can put into the program. And that's part of the challenge of the advisory committee right now. What we're working on is how do we get to the community to really get the message out there, from the Lions Club to some of the businesses we have in town, to try to get mentors to come and join us. So that's some of the work that we're trying to do right now as an advisory board. We've gone through the strategic planning process. We know where we want to be at this point. 10 is, as Josh pointed out, is the right number at this point, but we would definitely love to grow it because we see the benefits, as he's pointed out. So really my message is thank you for the support, and don't hesitate ever to come and join us and see what we're doing with the students.
Jose, thank you. I want you to know how appreciative I am of the work that you do. Can you describe the type of commitment that a mentor would need to commit to doing with a student?
Yeah, so we're talking about 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's the one big part right there, the 4-year commitment if you can do it. But then on top of that, it's going to really depend on the student as well. It might not be anything that requires them to be even on a week basis communication, but it could be that like every other week. But also as things are occurring here at the high school, it could be a phone call.
Okay.
But for some of the mentors here, they also want to see the program even beyond high school of how the student is done. But I would say from a standpoint of a mentor, communications with Amanda, then communications with the student. It could be maybe on a monthly basis, it could be maybe a 4 to 8 hour type of time frame they put into it. But it could vary. I don't know if you think.
Yeah, so when we're onboarding new mentors, we ask them to meet with students at least 1 hour a month. Most of our mentors are meeting with their students more than 1 hour a month. There's got to be a reciprocal quality to this, right? The student needs to want to meet with the mentor as well. I think what I've seen over the course of the program's history is that the number of hours of service that mentors provide grows as students get older. Right, so they match with students in the spring of their 9th grade year. Right? It's a pretty light touch, right? They might see them, 4 or 5 times in the spring of their 9th grade year before we go on summer vacation. Grade 10, it might be, once a month for the, first semester. Maybe as we get into the second semester, if that relationship is hopefully starting to click, that rapport is building, the trust is there, frequency is starting to increase. I think a lot of our mentors, I think first semester, senior year, they're spending a lot of time with their students. There's a big push, helping them get those applications out the door, finalizing the college search, helping kids get out on campus. So I think the frequency of hours grows for most of our volunteers as the students progress through high school.
What kind of background are you looking for in a mentor? Like somebody who's been through college?
So we, our ideal volunteer is someone who has direct experience with the system of higher education in the United States. And so we have had mentors who are very young adults in their mid-20s, who are young working professionals.
Very successful.
Some of our most successful mentors have been in their mid to late 20s. I'd say the bulk of our mentors are folks that are retired and semi-retired, who themselves have university degrees, and many of whom have shepherded their own children through the college process. And so they, they really know the system. They have an insider's perspective in the system. They know both having been a student themselves and having shepherded young people through the system. We are eager to bring in volunteers who speak Portuguese and Spanish. The majority of students in the Connections program, their parents require interpreters to work with the mentors, and that's a really high bar for our volunteers to clear. And so what that means is that many of our mentors they're working with the students, but they're really not able to develop a rapport and a working relationship with parents. So our ideal candidate is someone who knows the American university system from the inside, either having been a college student themselves or shepherded their own children through the college process. The ideal candidate would be Portuguese or Spanish. However, the vast majority of our mentors are monolingual English speakers. It's by no means a prerequisite. And I think that all of our volunteers have been successful professionals. Lots of different industries and vocations, but it's a very high achieving group that we've attracted.
I think if what happens if they don't speak Portuguese or Spanish, which is a majority of the students, is the fact that the communication with the parents is really, that's where the breakdown is. With the student speaks English, not an issue. It's how do you communicate with the parents more that don't really know the language. So that would be the value on it. So
and to that, we speak to our mentors. Our mentors are not substitutes for counselors. Right? They are complements to counselors, nor are they substitutes for parents and guardians, right? They're complementing the work that parents and guardians are doing. They're complementing the work that counselors are doing. Our counselors are working with parents and guardians in their native language. So if the mentors are not able to form that relationship with the parents and guardians, it doesn't mean they're out in the cold. Right? Our counselors are working with the parents and guardians. So great to have, not necessary.
But that was the value of when Josh was working with us originally before we had Amanda in place. It's that now they were able to talk to Amanda as a guidance counselor and the mentors and actually get information that can assist them as they're dealing with the student. Versus before, you basically had mentors trying to get to Josh and we were like, no, you can't do that. But that's where the value comes in of having someone like Amanda in place right now to the program.
It's also, if there's anyone watching on TV who's considering giving this a go, it's also, I think, noteworthy that Amanda Masada, our coordinator, is trilingual. She's fluent in both Portuguese and Spanish, so she can serve as a wonderful bridge between our mentors and parents and guardians when there is a need for there to be direct communication between our mentors and parents and guardians.
And we're going through right now, my last point is we're going through that's one of the things we try to do as well. We've done survey assessments of how we're doing from a mentor standpoint, even the parent and the student. We're actually turning this time to try to go a little more in depth. We're going to be doing focus groups this year. So we're going to try to get more detail of what's working, what can we improve. So we're continuing to do that effort to really evaluate the program and modify it to improve it.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you both for coming in to talk about the program. Really appreciate it. For those that don't know Jose, he sat in these very seats
A long time ago.
not that many, not that long ago. So, but obviously, he continues to give back to our community, which is a great thing. So, from the school committee side and continuing on from the connection side, so really appreciate it. A few years ago, you had me come in to speak to potential college-bound students about from an engineering perspective. Was that part of the Connections program?
Yes.
It was. Okay. So, speaking on behalf of technology and accounting and other business development side of things, certainly reach out to Jose. He did. I'm not sure if you're still doing those types of talks.
We're still doing it,
I really enjoyed it, coming in and just, talking about the industry that I work in and basically fielding questions from potential college-bound students. So really appreciated that. I know that was during the school day, obviously. When else do you typically does a mentor meet with a student? Is it always within the time frame of the school, or it could be outside of the school hours?
Yeah, it really varies. I think for most of our mentors, in the initial stages of the relationship, they're probably seeing their students exclusively in school during flex blocks on Monday and Wednesday afternoon. And I think the typical trajectory is that as time goes on and they build rapport and they build trust, there starts to be more activity that takes place after school hours. We have not all, but many of our mentors have accompanied students on college visits, oftentimes starting as early as grade 10. So sometimes on a Saturday or Sunday, or like right after school, like grabbing them and heading over to a local college campus. We have many of our mentors have participated in different community service activities with students in the community, nights and weekends. But that's left up to the mentor and the student to sort of figure out what's going to be the right fit for them. But I'd say in general, it starts off exclusively in school. And as the relationship builds and strengthens, it starts to expand outside of the building and outside of school hours.
Yeah, I mean, if the mentor is working, for example, they prefer more at night type
Right,
of thing.
of course,
so,
yeah.
so that's what it depends
Is
on.
Zoom a possibility?
Oh, yeah,
To
yeah.
start that relationship, like you
Yeah.
said, and that trust factor.
Yeah,
things
I mean, like
Okay.
Josh said, the first years, the freshman in sophomore year, the really the intent there is to build that relationship.
Right.
It's for the two of them to be able to really communicate effectively, so the student really has a trust of it when they get to the years that are really critical, as the student's looking for where they're going to go, what's their future.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much. Really appreciate everything you guys are doing.
It's a great program. Thank you for coming to talk about it. I know you shared, one specific success story, Joss, but to multiply that by 10 or 30, I think it's remarkable. Certainly thank you to all the mentors who are serving. I was just curious, the sort of non-curriculum that Amanda's building out, is that also to help the mentors? So when they come in, they kind of have a guide to use? I think that's also maybe reassuring. If you're new to this,
Yes.
there's also a tool that's sort of going to be handed to you. So I feel like that's also a great benefit.
Absolutely, yeah. We're not looking for our mentors to make it up as they go.
Yeah.
We want to give them plenty of space to play to their strengths and sort of follow the student's lead in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's a great deal of guidance with suggested activities and resources that our mentors can sort of pick and choose from and use their judgment to determine what's going to be the best fit at the best time.
Awesome. Thank you.
We have, as part of our advisory board, two of the members are actually the co-chairs of the program committee. And that's what the role of the program committee is, really to develop the program with Amanda.
That's great. Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate the update.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Now let's move forward to the vote on the 2026-27 school calendar.
All right. The long-awaited calendar is here. So it has there's a few different things I want to point out. First of all, the first day for faculty and staff is August 24th. We have two professional days, August 24th and 25th. Then the 26th would be the first day for students in grades 1 to 12. And then our kindergarten first day ends up being the 31st of August, which is the following Monday. the thing, the next year, or actually, sorry, this coming fall, Labor Day falls later than, I guess, usual. So there's going to be two full weeks for staff anyways before Labor Day this year, which is usually just a week before. But I think that's good for us. It allows us to get into the swing of things with kids, and then we have a 4-day weekend over that Labor Day weekend. I think I talked about this last week. We have no half-a-days on our calendar other than the last day of school. We do have 5 different early dismissal days. They're on various Tuesdays throughout the school year. In early dismissal days, we'll be dismissing students around 12:50 for the high school and the middle school, around 1:20 at Woodland, and then around 1:30 at Memorial and Brookside. We'll also couple that with professional development time for our teachers, so our teachers will have 3 hours of professional development time in the afternoon. All of our students will have lunch, and then they'll go home for the day an hour or two earlier than they normally would. It allows us to have a similar amount of professional development time throughout the day, but it makes the day, it doesn't cut as much out of our instructional time than a half a day would. Let's see, the other thing that's important here is in June, our last day for seniors ends up being, this is in May 25th. Our high school graduation is June 6th. The last day for students and teachers, if there are no snow days, is June 11th. So we start a little early. We're going to get out a little earlier, I hope. And then this is something that we brought back in. If 5 snow days are used, June 21st would be the last day of school. So you'll see that in the calendar this time around. I don't know if anybody has any questions. This does require a vote.
I see none. Motion to approve the 2026-27 school calendar.
So moved.
Motion by Michael, second by Derek. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
All right, we'll get this out.
Thank you.
And then that also brings us to the last day of school for this school year, which we have noted here as Tuesday, June 23rd. Is that a half day?
That'll be a half a day.
Any questions on that? Motion to approve. Motion by Chris, second by Megan. All in favor? Yes, thank you. On to the MPS policy review.
We were productive.
As usual.
Yeah, as usual.
As always.
So we have 4 policies for consideration this evening. Actually, Craig, do you want to talk briefly about the emergency closings?
Sure.
Actually, you can skim through all if you want.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull them up. Hold on.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
So for the emergency closings, the only difference here is in the first paragraph, the last sentence, we added that at the superintendent's discretion, if there are after-school activities or evening events, those can happen in the event of a snow day. So, for example, this year we had back-to-back snow days. By the afternoon, it was fine, and we were able to have practice or whatever. This allows us to have that kind of discretion.
We're going to talk about each one first, and then we'll vote on each one separately. So, are there any questions on the emergency closings?
So, no changes
Other than that,
than what was proposed in front of us, other than, say that again, I'm sorry.
sorry,
I thought.
it's the last sentence, I believe, in the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Is new versus the current version.
Yeah.
The superintendent may at his own discretion determine whether after-school and/or evening activities will be canceled, proposed,
Right.
or held as scheduled based on changing conditions and safety of schools, student, staff.
So that's how Yeah, that's how it reads here.
Yep.
Okay, so there's no changes based on what was
This
proposed
is the proposed provision.
Yep.
earlier. That's all. That's why I just wanted to make sure that, obviously, we got this
The old one doesn't
earlier.
have- The old one doesn't have that.
Right. I'm saying, what I'm saying is, what was given to us in our packet, there's no changes based on what your input. Thank you.
Had to get that dots in there, huh, Craig?
What's that?
Had to get that dots in there.
Yeah, that's right.
The second one was security cameras. We didn't go deep into this one. We added the word van. Twice. Thank you, Brendan. And then the other piece that we added was that recordings will be saved for no more than 60 days. After 60 days, if they're not being used for like an investigation or insurance, they'll be deleted and destroyed. So those are the only two changes that we made for this.
And again, no changes from what we have
Correct.
in front of us to what was being
As
proposed tonight.
presented, Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. The third one was professional staff and contracts. The third paragraph was the change at the discretion of the superintendent. Administrator may serve in a coaching or extracurricular role, provided that, and there's 3 bullet points. Actually, Craig, why don't you talk about your intent here? And
So, in the old policy, it was, there was a language in there that said that specifically administrators couldn't coach teams or athletic teams or something, something to that effect. I don't remember what it said. This is just to allow, at my discretion or superintendent's discretion, an administrator to serve in a coaching or extracurricular role, provided that it doesn't disrupt their primary responsibilities, or that, and also that it happens outside of their contracted working hours, and then it can be revoked at any time if it's determined to interfere with responsibilities. So, for example, if we use the example of an athletic director applies to be, say, a baseball coach. In my opinion, I wouldn't allow that because it would interfere with their role as athletic director, right? The role of the athletic director is to oversee all of the sports program. If they're coaching one of the sports teams, it's impossible for them to oversee what's going on in all of the programs. However, if a curriculum supervisor of math wanted to coach a soccer team, there is a way for the person to do that without it interfering in the work that they're doing in the math curriculum world. So that might be a position that I would say, okay, yeah, that's fine. But obviously, I think that in any of these scenarios, we would have to be in sort of dire straits that we don't have a coach, or we don't have a qualified coach to take on the role, that we're going to our administrators to coach one of these teams. We would primarily look to our teaching and our faculty and staff to take on these coaching roles. But if we didn't have somebody for whatever reason, there could be a situation where we would need an administrator to take on that role.
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
So maybe Craig, just speak to sort of, I'm just trying to envision this, I guess, like the working hours, right? So I would envision most administrators, their day would extend beyond 2:30 generally. And so just like in my gut, I feel like then offering them a stipend to go on the field at 3 doesn't feel like in alignment with the compensation. So like just maybe how you're thinking through that. And I
Well,
guess it's in dire situations, so I
Yeah,
appreciate
it is,
that.
but maybe also the practice doesn't start till 4:30 either.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
So
Okay.
I think that there are ways for
It should
an
work.
administrator to work
Okay.
around it, by pushing practice later or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Okay. So that will be contemplated in the decision-making process for the role.
Of
Okay.
course,
Thank
yep.
you.
Chris?
I'm strongly against this. This has been tried and it failed once. Again, it was with the athletic director. I think that when you hit the administration role, that you take yourself out of the running for these types of things. And I know that this could be in very special cases, but I think that we open up the door to that potentially happening. I think that not keeping the policy like it was is in the best interest not only of basically the work hours, but also the student athletes. Because yes, you can tailor your practice times, but games, meets, they're always right after school. They're not later on in the day. Buses leave school early. Buses are or right after the end of the school day. So there are so many reasons why I feel like this is just not a good idea. I could not support this whatsoever. You could try to sway me, and again, you will not be able to on this. I've seen it. I experienced it with my own student athlete, and it did a disservice to not just to her, but her entire team. So again, I tried,
Because
failed.
it was the athletic director?
But even still, yeah, it was the athletic director, but I could see it happening with any administrator. What happens if the administrator has an important meeting right after school, right? And has to be there. Again, it tried, failed. We need to scratch this from a policy that, and make it that administrators are not allowed to do the extracurricular coaching or advising, and for me, like I said, move on from it.
Doesn't sound like it'll be an athletic director, though. Like, still superintendent approval, discretion, I should say. But you're saying beyond AD, if it was another administrator.
Any
you think it would be-
administrator, right? Just, again, just the.
I mean, schedule. When's the schedule come out? Like, obviously beforehand. So you'd have to line up those practices, line up those meets, or whatever it is the case may be, to your schedule, and you think that would be a problem?
Yes,
Okay.
I've seen it.
During the discussion of the policy meeting, there was a specific position that you mentioned as an administrator position, but it wasn't like a assistant principal. Well, I forget what it was.
Math supervisor?
Yeah, math supervisor.
Mhm.
So like to that point, Chris, like a math supervisor is considered administrator, but maybe not to the level of like a building principal. Is that a difference that you would find acceptable in the policy potentially?
No, it would not. Again, I think I think, yeah, and
I get it. Yeah.
I see I understand where you're going. I just feel like we're gonna get into a gray area of it, and that's why
There's definitely.
I feel like this is something that we can't get into a gray area with it. Do I trust the superintendent in the decision of that? Yes, but I still feel like, again, it's a gray area that I just don't want to go down. I think to Meg's point of hours and what the expected hours are, what are the expected hours of that? And again, so we don't know. So to me, administrator has their work hours are different and more expansive than the a teacher. So therefore, that's why, again, I can't support this.
I have a thought. I don't feel super strong one way or the other. I generally am against something so black and white. So one of the scenarios I came up with today is, say I'm coaching soccer and I was sick for 3 weeks and somebody has to fill in, and the only person that can fill in is an administrator, the AD or a principal or somebody. The policy today completely limits that. So that means that practice would have to be shut down, which is a disservice to the students. And then I thought also, like, do we have a large bench of people who want to be coaches? The answer is no. So we're now making that pool a lot smaller. And then just going to like a personnel management. I guess my overall thought, this is crafted where it's narrow-ish, meaning it gives the superintendent the authority to make the decision if needed. And if we don't like that as school committee, then we can tell the superintendent or tell them, hey, I'm nervous that we're we're shutting down some flexibility.
Mhm.
So that's my, I don't know, I'm very on the fence still, because of like, it's, the old policy's black and white. Like, when your daughter was, or the AD was coaching, according to our policy, they shouldn't have been, which is, I don't know why, but it happens.
Mhm.
So I guess my concern, if that AD was not supposed to do it and didn't do it, what would have happened to that team? There was nobody else.
Well, yes.
And so that's where
There were other assistants, yeah, I think that,
but that's what
we
my
can
point
talk
goes.
back and forth on that, and I get that. But again, I just feel like we gotta make sure we're protecting the student athletes at the end of the day. That's where I'm at.
How would this?
And I
If
think to
we're
your point,
limited-
by saying it's too restrictive, we have lots of policies that are very restrictive for that very reason, to protect what the policies is written for, right? So to keep a policy, this policy loose, to me, or just to say that the policy's too tight and too restrictive, well, yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's fair, but this is a personnel management,
Yeah.
right? And that's what Craig's job is to manage personnel, and we're now getting involved in like how Craig would manage this, and making it narrow, saying, hey, you know what, you now can't pull from a pool of administrators at all to be coaches,
Correct.
which is the existing policy, which again might be fine.
Right.
I haven't been given a reason to say yes or say no personally.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling.
Again, yeah, I agree with the former policy just based on my own life experience.
Off of one experience.
Off of one experience, but I don't want it to happen again to anybody here that may have
Fair.
kids coming through, right?
Yeah.
Because you only get one, usually in a sense, one shot, one season, and all that, so I don't want to muddy those waters up.
What if a coach is out just for like a week and the AD has to fill in?
I mean.
This policy, as of today, would be like, no, you can't do that.
Right, exactly, I'm fine with that. We could find somebody. Have to. Again, the AD wouldn't be able to fill in because it's going to take him from his other sports duties. If there's an away game in Canton, 45 minutes to an hour away, and the AD has to go to that softball game because he's coaching softball, and there's a home baseball game, and the umpires don't show up to the home baseball game, well, then now we don't have an administrator there on site to mitigate the issues. So again, we can throw scenarios out all day long with this. I guess I'm very clear on my stance on this, and because I feel like you can go through all these scenarios, I'd rather not. I'd rather just I've stated where I am, and I'll move on from it, and I'll let you guys
Point
make
of
your own
interest.
decisions.
Point of interest. How?
Nope, I'm not talking. No.
All right. How? Like, what percentage of the time was the AD present? Like, was they missed like a lot of the practices?
A lot.
and games?
A lot. Significant amount.
All right.
Yeah, I think away meets were non-existent.
But an AD is different than like
Oh, yeah.
a math,
And a lot of-
administrator. And so
Yeah.
I think for me to not focus on the AD and just focus
Right.
on we're going to ban general administration.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of what I was getting at. So the ADs, there's a lot of after-school activities. That's the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, another administrator wouldn't have as many afternoon, evening things to do. So again, in your scenario, a week, can't someone cover for that week, whether it be an AD or an administrator? Kind of like if it's just a week or 3 weeks, it's not that big a deal. Because if you don't have that person, maybe you don't have a team for that.
You
3
usually
weeks.
have an assistant coach. Right, so that
Some
assistant
teams.
coach,
Some teams, some don't.
pretty much, I think almost every team
JV
we
soccer
have
doesn't.
has JV.
Yeah.
Well, JV, yeah, but again, you're talking JV,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
What do you feel, Craig? Well, I guess you're presenting it, so you want the flexibility, I guess.
It honestly doesn't matter to me either way.
Wow. Okay.
So why are we talking about it?
Yep.
Sounds like no change.
That's
The committee member brought it up.
got it.
Okay.
So To
Well-
move on to, there's
Yeah.
one more, right?
We'll move on to public gifts to the school. So
Yeah.
finally, this has been talked about a lot. We actually thought we voted this in months ago and we didn't, so we brought it back. We made some minor. So basically, this is something that was near and dear to my heart personally. Is the school committee should have the authority to accept gifts, right? So gifts should come to us. However, we didn't want to impede the operations of the school, so we did put a clause in there that says, hey, the superintendent or designee may accept donations up to $1,500 on behalf of the school committee without a vote, right? Now that number might change, so Craig might come back to us in 3 months and be like, oh, that number needs to be 2,500, or it might need to be 500, right? But we wanted to start somewhere, and so that's what the intent. And then everything else is, well, as written, basically. The idea is if a camera is donated to the sports field that costs $25,000 from a booster, that needs to come to the school committee before it's installed, so we can actually ask questions like, is it equitable? Who's going to pay for the maintenance costs? What's happening? And so that's the intent of this policy.
I'm not sure I missed this earlier today, but there's a typo in the last sentence with the word create, but otherwise,
I just fixed it.
there you go. Thank you.
I don't see it.
Now look.
Sorry, just a clarifying question, Matt. So, Michael, you're saying this is essentially the MASC policy minus the second to last sentence?
Yep. It's based off the NAIC policy. I don't remember exactly how much, but it's pretty darn close.
They have an exception also.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then, Craig, do we have said policies, or those are to be implemented? Procedures, I'm sorry.
We do not have said procedures
Got it.
now.
Okay, thank you.
We had a nice vigorous talk about that today.
Great. Thank you. Thanks.
Any other discussions on that policy? Okay. We can vote them one at a time.
Yes, sir.
That'll be the easiest way to do this. So, look for motion to approve file EBCD emergency closings. Motion by Megan, second by Brendan. All in favor? That one's unanimous. Thank you. Next motion is for file ECA-2 security camera system policy. Motion to approve. Motion by Megan, second by
Second?
Chris. All in favor? I will ask for a motion to approve file GCB professional staff contracts and compensation. Is there a motion to approve that
As a new policy.
as a new
Thank you.
policy? I see no motion to approve, so we will pass on that one. And last one is file KCD public gifts to the schools. Is there a motion to approve this policy? Motion by Derek, second by Brendan. All in favor? That one is unanimous. Thank you.
And big thanks to Craig and crew for getting all this done. This was a lot of work.
Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. And that'll bring us to the report of the superintendent of schools. Next.
Just quickly, about procedures. In all the years that I've been through handbooks and school improvement plans, it's going on 20 years now. It makes zero sense to me that we do this in the spring, except for let me back up for a second, except for handbooks. Handbooks, I understand, we do it in the spring. It sets us up for the fall and having all of our rules and regulations in place. School improvement plans, on the other hand, we do a lot of work on school improvement planning from, I would say, May all the way through the summer in preparation for the next year. It makes more sense to me that all of our principals come to us or come to you all in the spring, in the fall, right at the beginning of the year, to present their school improvement plans for approval. I think that, in my opinion, it sets the tone for the year. It gives them more time to craft some ideas and make the plans that they have, I guess, more realistic, because they've been able to spend a lot more time during the summer to do some of the work. With the whole leadership team. So what I would like to propose is that we have handbooks done in the spring this year. Principals can come and present them if you want, or we can have them, I could present whatever changes there were. There's usually minimal changes to handbooks.
So these are the school handbooks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would come in the upcoming weeks to talk about those, and then in the first 1 or 2 meetings in the fall, principals would come. Obviously, we don't want them all in one day. We'd break it up some way that makes sense, and they would present their school improvement plans to you all in the fall. That's what I would like to propose.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting. I like that timeline. I think that the only issue I have with this is the fact that is the focus on the school improvement plans is supposed to be part of the school improvement committee,
Yeah.
right? Which is supposed to involve parents. So I think that focusing on doing it during the summertime takes away the parent guidance within that part of it, right? So again, this was supposed to be more parent-driven and kind of facilitated by the principals, and I think we've lost that. We've lost our way on that, what I've seen since COVID, and I know it's very difficult to get parent involvement. That would be my only issue with it. I like presenting it in the fall as the school year goes, but I think that the focusing on late spring and into the summertime again loses the premise with the fact that parents are supposed to be part of the process.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I'm not suggesting that parents are taken out of the equation either.
Right.
Right? We do run school councils. I would say that back when you were on my school council,
Exactly. See,
we
always start there.
we had 18 parents.
Right.
Wow.
Now, when they do school councils, we're lucky to have 1 to 2, maybe a handful in some schools. There's the time commitment is challenging for families. I also think that why does the school council need to run on the school schedule either, right? Like if we could, just because we do some work in the summer doesn't mean that we can't get feedback from school councils either.
I agree.
Right.
Yes.
So by suggesting this, I'm not suggesting that we're cutting parents out of the loop either. So I would expect that if we are going to do it in the fall, that it has been through a school improvement council of some sort. And again, throughout the year, principals are getting feedback from parents that could be incorporated into this plan, but at the end of the day, it should be voted on by the school council. 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even sure. I know the school councils are Mass General Law, and I don't know if the school improvement plans also follow that. We should look that up.
Well, that's one of the functions of the school council.
Right, so. And that's why it's just important for them to
Yep,
be
I agree.
involved and somehow, and I get it, it is a struggle to get people involved,
Yep.
right, compared to what it was like 10 years ago, so.
I thought it was me.
Yeah.
Maybe there
Maybe,
was
yeah.
some-
Yeah. I don't know, based on who ran for school committee this year, I'm not sure, right?
Yeah.
Craig, I appreciate the thought.
Well, hey,
That was rough.
I've always been in a fight, so it was my time to.
I appreciate the thought. There's so much going on that you're even thinking, like, how can we do this one piece more strategically? So thanks for that. My only ask would be that we not wait a year and a half to hear about this year's plans. So if we could just get some sort of update in terms of how those have been going and then talk about next year's plans in the fall.
Okay, so
They don't need to come in, but could do you think
some kind of
just have one page update so
yep,
we can kind of know where
some kind
they're-
of
Yeah,
update.
that'd be great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, Megan, I think that's a great point because
I don't want to let a year go by.
there's that transition, right? where-
Exactly,
where you
just to capture
you have
that.
to pick up the new cycle.
Yep.
So I think that's an update is a good idea, and then just logistically, shifting when they come to present would allow this committee to get back to doing what probably should have been done and hasn't since I started, which is the superintendent's evaluation can happen within this fiscal year and be
Mhm.
done by the end of June
Mhm.
instead of in August or September. So a little bit of a flop there. I think with the usage of time would be a good thing too. Any other comments?
I had a request, Craig. I think
Mhm.
we brought this up before. The student handbooks or the family handbooks, it'd be really nice if they followed a consistent template. And I'll tell you why, is that they're actually policies of the school committee, and sometimes when you go through them, they're hard to read and find out further information. So it'd be really, really great if the principals worked together and came up with a standardized template, because at the end of the day, they are school committee policies. And that took me a couple of years to actually realize, but they do come for us for vote, and then they become actually school committee policies, so it'd be nice to have some kind of templatized whatever.
For this year or next?
I mean, this year would be great, or a start.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you for that update. We can move on to the report of the school business administrator next.
First, a quick update on the, this year's budget report. Overall, the balance, I don't have concern about the balance, the total balance. And it basically followed the same pattern of where the deficits are. Nothing jump out right now. And I just sent out the memo to closing the fiscal year, so next report, the number will change probably significantly. And I will have better idea of where the money can be moved to cover the deficit. And I think updated the transportation and out of district, after the offset, we still have a positive balance, so there's no concern there.
Questions on the
Questions?
budget? No? Okay.
Thank you.
No question.
And just a quick personnel update attached for your information.
Quick question on personnel, if you mind.
Sure.
Is there any way to, obviously, certain ones of are grant funded, and others are general fund. Is there any way to just do either separate them out or put another column in that signifies general fund funded or grant funded
Yeah,
for the future? That'd be great.
yeah,
Great, thank
yeah,
you.
okay, no problem.
Okay. Thanks for the update. We'll go to the consent agenda next. Is there any item that needs to be pulled for discussion? All right, I see none. So tonight, the consent agenda is going to include the following: the approval of 10 warrants in the amount of $933,920.43, the approval of minutes from the March 19th, 2026 meeting, and professional development in the amount of $8,826. Motion to approve? Motion by Megan, second by Brendan. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Subcommittee updates.
We got a productive policy.
Seems like we just got one for policy, yeah. Anybody else?
Nothing.
All right. Future agenda items. On the list currently, obviously will be an HVAC project update from Stacy as that moves along. We're still looking to schedule a reimbursement rate discussion related to the MSBA project with Next Level, and the evaluation prep for superintendent is still outstanding. Is there anything else to add to the list? I see none. All right. With that, we are at the end of our meeting tonight. We do not have anything further, so we will end this open session and meeting with a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Chris, second by Megan. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.